In the long history of conflict between the Jedi and Sith, the two factions always clashed over control of the galaxy and which of their ideologies concerning the Force was most accurate. Just like any religious war, there were always some that would begin to question their order's philosophy and embrace the other. The amount of Jedi that have turned to the dark side over time has always been shocking. The Jedi put all of these rules in place to ensure that none in their order ever succumbed to the allure and power of passion. And yet, the tighter they squeeze, the more Jedi just seem to slip through their fingers. Sometimes, Jedi leave the Order and become Dark Jedi. In context of this video though, that would be the preferable option. Others, however, join the opposing force and become a part of the Sith. We've heard the story told dozens of times. A Jedi becomes disillusioned with the Council, discovers the dark side, and then becomes the very bane of the Jedi Order's existence. This has happened an embarrassing number of times, and sometimes it results in the absolute catastrophe for the Jedi. First, with the Junta Pal and his followers quite literally founding the modern Sith Order. However, there seems to be a pattern among most Jedi who turn into Sith. They become extraordinarily powerful beyond comprehension for any Jedi. However, where this video is concerned is that these Jedi that become Sith are often more times far more powerful than Sith that have been enveloped in the dark side their entire lives. And in many cases, a Jedi that embraces the dark side and the Order of the Sith are some of the most powerful Darksiders in galactic history. So why is this? Well, stick with us today, curious acolytes of the Force, as we attempt to answer this question by opening up yet another holocron. First off, I want to go ahead and say this for the topic. I'm going to be talking about the era prior to the Rule of Two. The reason for this is the vast majority of the Rule of Sith that we know were Sith originally. And again, as far as we know, none of the Rule of Two era Sith Lords until Darth Tyrannus and Darth Vader were Jedi previously. Not to mention the philosophy of the Rule of Two made them grow stronger until we got to see the most powerful Sith in Lord Sidious. Anyway, many Jedi of the Old Republic and before not only became Sith, what would go on to be the near destruction of the Jedi Order as an entirety, excluding the power of the Chosen One in Darth Vader. Three of the most destructive Sith in history were Jedi, including Freed Nad, Exar Kun, and Darth Ruin. Freed Nad had arrived at the Jedi Temple of Ossus as a young man, and began his training under the Jedi there. This is a long time before they employed the policy of exclusivity recruiting infants and young children. Freedon was a prodigy and understood the Force in ways that astounded the masters at the temple. He excelled in his training and truly wished to bring balance to the Force. It was said that Freed Nad would have achieved the rank of Master far quicker than any other Jedi purely based on his deep understanding of the Force itself. However, Freedon had a lust for knowledge that exceeded any other Jedi, and the Council made a bad choice when they decided to test him in training. This test resulted in him accidentally slaying his own master. Overcome with grief and rage, Freedon would then leave the Jedi Order and travel to the very heart of the Sith Empire, and proceeded to become one of the most powerful Sith sorcerers in all of galactic history, single-handedly starting the Beast Wars, and later on, actually being the catalyst for Exar Kun's fall to the dark side. Speaking of whom, the Dark Lord Exar Kun became a Sith legend. Exar not only fell to the Sith, but brought along with him almost a third of the Jedi Order. Under the tutelage of Freed Nad's spirit, Exar Kun learned how to use Sith sorcery and was the most famous for his skill with the lightsaber. Exar was so powerful that he managed to mind control the entire Galactic Senate and force the Supreme Chancellor to preach Sith ideologies before Exar Kun killed him personally. The Dark Lord was also responsible for the destruction of the Jedi Temple on Ossus, which cost the Jedi Order a great amount of knowledge and perhaps changed them forever. Then of course, we can't forget Revan and Malak, who brought the Jedi Order to their knees during the Jedi Civil War when they turned to the dark side. After turning back to the light, Revan would still go on to become one of the most powerful and capable Force users in galactic history. With this though, what we want to know is what is it about the Jedi that turn to Sith that they have that regular Sith do not inherently possess? In nearly every case of a Jedi's fall, it is followed by nearly the entire annihilation of the rest of the Jedi Order. Now, it is not to say that Sith who have been so their whole lives haven't had great accomplishments, quite the contrary. It was Darth Malgus who burned the Jedi Temple and caused the sacking of Coruscant. Darth Nihilus, who began the first Jedi Purge and lessened the Jedi numbers to just under 100, and Darth Vitiate, who transcended the Sith doctrine and nearly became the Emperor of the universe. These are all incredible feats to be sure, but there just seems to be something special that comes from former Jedi. I mean, in Attack of the Clones, Count Dooku had become so powerful that he could match Grandmaster Yoda at the lightsaber, and grew to such a power over the course of the Clone Wars that even Sidious became threatened by him. Well, why is this? Today, we have a few theories. The most important one I think is worth pushing to the forefront is the prior knowledge of the Force that the Jedi possess. Many Sith acolytes who have been trained in the ways of the dark side since childhood have a familiarity with the dark side and know the pain that accompanies it. They've already been taught to unleash their power as soon as it comes from within them. Jedi, however, have been taught the opposite, that restraint and temperance is the way. Because of this, there are many Jedi that just seem to have this deep well of power that is simply locked away and caged within them. Upon merely tasting the dark side, there have been some Jedi Padawans who have outright overcome Sith acolytes who are basically on the level of Jedi Masters. Jedi have been put to the task of learning as much lore of the Force as they possibly can, so they have a deep understanding of its mysteries beyond what most Sith Lords are willing to teach their apprentices. An argument could be made that by the time a Jedi Knights turn to the dark side, they have a better grasp on how the Force works than most Sith acolytes, and now it's just a matter of unlocking that natural power that they have latent within themselves, a power that they have long since denied ever existing. Let's break this down even further. Using a river and a dam as reference, let's look at the powerful river that has never had a dam built in the first place. It's rushing, it's raging, and it carves out entire valleys in its wake. It is strong for sure, but now let's look at the same river but with a dam built. With similar power, the river sits there, but it is barred away. Only small windows in the drain allow the power to pour through, but pour through in a controlled measure. Meanwhile, the pressure is still building behind it, growing stronger every passing day. Now, if that dam is destroyed, and all of the pressurized water gushes out like a horizontal geyser, for a while, the river is going to be much more powerful than the other, simply because of the pressure building up. I think this analogy could be transferred to the Jedi, and both the Force energy and all of the emotions that they have bottled up within themselves for conceivably years on end. I think it is underestimated how much Jedi have to keep within themselves. Sith apprentices are taught pain, both physical and emotional, from the very beginning. This is very true. But let's take a look at the Guardians of Peace and Justice. What a Jedi Guardian goes through in just a week is enough trauma to last an average soldier a lifetime. Jedi see the very worst of the galaxy and all that it has to offer, because it is their job to correct it. They have no release for all of this tension, because if they try to confide in their masters, all they'll get is a scolding and a reminder to mind your feelings and to just let go. There's only so much even a Jedi Master can let slide off of their back before they eventually snap. Some Jedi never reach this point. Some Jedi reach that point though, but manage to come back, and come back even wiser than before. But for those who can't, the dark side calls to them, promises them power and release from all of that pent-up energy. And when the floodgates open, no one is safe from their wrath. This is just one of many theories that could be made. There is also the fact that Luke Skywalker points out about how Jedi know how to temper themselves in combat, which makes them ultimately better duelists. The most famous Sith duelists in history were once Jedi, so they can call upon those techniques that many Sith choose to ignore in service for their power. So please, open a discussion down below and comment your theories, or if you don't think that a Jedi to Sith are more powerful than straight Sith, tell us why. Now remember, the Force will be with you, and have a great day.
Just let me fall to my